Welcome back everybody to another build showcase, and I am so excited to show you this build. I have been trying to get this role on the Titan class item for like a month now, and I can finally show you the proper build here. Let's jump right into it. Now, jumping right in, this is a Prismatic Titan build with the Stoicism Titan Mark exotic. Now, it is hard to get the exact roles you want on these Titan exotics or exotic class items in general. If you've completed the Dual Destiny mission in the Pale Heart, what you can do is you can go to the Ghost here at the Lost City in the Pale Heart, and you can focus one of the two perks that you want on it. I would recommend focusing the Spirit of Severance, making sure you get that, and then getting Spirit of Contact second. Another good option for this build is the Spirit of Severance and Spirit of Synthoceps if you can't get the Spirit of Severance and Spirit of Contact, because Spirit of Synthoceps gives you increased melee damage when you're surrounded, and you're going to be surrounded quite a bit in with this build. However, Spirit of Severance, Spirit of Contact, those are the drops you want on it. Now, jumping right into the subclass, we are running a Prismatic Titan, like I said. We're going to be running the Blade Fury Super, because when you use your Blade Fury Super, you're going to refresh your strand melees, and we are going to be using the Frenzy Blade strand melee for this so that we get those 3 charges that we can use. The barricade doesn't really matter, your jump doesn't matter, it's whatever your preference is. I like using the Strafe Lift. You will want the Frenzied Blade for your melee ability. And then your grenade doesn't really matter. I like the Pulse Grenade because it does a decent amount of damage. Another good option is the Glacier Grenade, just to create a freeze effect so that you can have better that. And then also, if you need something for like unstops or something like that, you can run the Shackle Grenade to suspend targets. Moving right along to our aspects are going to be Concentration, because that's one of the key parts of this build. We're going to activate Concentration. You're going to slide. It creates a solar wave when you activate your melee, and then you can slam it down, causing everything to ignite if you've scorched the target. This is the key part to the build. You have to, like this, you got to run this. Every time you slide forward, it's going to initiate the lightning strikes from Spirit of Contact on all the enemies, dealing extra damage, and then you're going to slam down. It's going to cause them to ignite and then explode from Spirit of Severance, causing extra damage on top of the ignite, on top of the lightning. It makes it so that you can clear entire waves with one ability and just continue to run through everything. Now, for our second aspect, we are going to be using the Knockout, because when you critically wound a target or break their shield, it infuses your melee with arc energy, increasing your melee range and damage for a short time. Just basically, you're making yourself stronger. You're making your melee stronger. You're just going to be able to absolutely decimate targets even further. And then also defeating targets with melee attacks makes you amplified and restores health. That's another key component that's going to be part of how we stay alive. Because when you're amplified, you're going to have a damage resistance buff, as well as gaining that HP back. It's going to be very important for the build. Now, I hope you're enjoying this build showcase. If you are, make sure you leave a like down below. Drop a subscription so you never miss another one. And then also, let me know in the comments if you have a build you want me to showcase, and I will check it out. And if I like it, I will go ahead and do a build showcase on it. Moving forward onto our fragments, we are running the Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage increases melee energy, meaning every time we use Concentration, because we're going to be proccing arc damage, we're going to be proccing solar damage, it is going to give us a ton of melee damage back, allowing us to get our melee more often. And then rapidly defeating targets with darkness energy grants grenade. If you have a darkness damage, it does that, but really we're doing it for the light damage, increasing our melee energy regains. Moving on to the Facet of Devotion, for our second fragment, defeating targets afflicted by stasis or strand debuffs grant bonus light transcendence energy. Now, we're using this less for the perks and more for the fact that we're gaining plus 10 melee, because that's what's pushing our melee up to 200. Now, you don't necessarily need this. If you can get to 200 in a different way, do that. And then what you can do is run the Facet of Sacrifice while you have an Arc Solar or Void buff. Ability Final Blows are going to increase your damage, which actually you know what we're going to do? We're going to switch to that because that's actually going to be more beneficial to us in the long run. And then what we can do is I'll show you in the mods how we can make sure that we're getting that 200 melee. Next, our Facet of Protection. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. We're going to be surrounded a lot in this build because we're going to be right in the fray of it, slamming our melee down. This is important, and it also gives us plus 10 melee, which, again, we want because we want to get up to that 200 melee. And last but not least, Facet of Purpose. Picking up an Orb of Power grants either Bolt Charge, Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or Overshield based on the damage type of our super. Now we are using the Strand Super, so we will be getting Woven Mail. Woven Mail is one of the strongest damage resistance buffs in the game. You definitely want this. Moving on to our armor and mods section. For our helmet, we are running a Harmonic Siphon currently, but you can change this to whatever you need it to be. I am running the hands-on modifier to make sure that we're getting extra super energy on melee kills, and then I have a special ammo finder just because special ammo sometimes can be tricky to find. However, you can switch this to whatever you need it to be to make sure you are getting Siphon and Orbs of Power drops. I might actually change this because I'm going to be running solar and stasis weapons. It's going to be better for me to have that than it is for me to have a strand weapon setup. We're going to go ahead and throw this on instead just because, actually we're going to throw this one on. Just because we're not going to be using, since we're not going to be using strand weapons, it doesn't make sense to have a strand weapon siphon on. And now, moving on to our arms, we are running primarily just melee mods on these, so you know, that way we get our melee up as high as possible. And this is how we're going to make sure we get our melee up over that peak and make sure that we get to 200 is throwing on a melee font. Now these give plus 20 for 1. If you're running 2, you get plus 40. And then if you're running 3, you get plus 50 to the melee stat. So because we're at 190, this will definitely put us over 200. So we don't have to worry about that. We'll be able to get the full damage PvE buff on this, which is, I believe, plus 30% melee damage. We're running heavy-handed because melee final blows will give us orbs of power. We're going to be basically only getting melee final blows, so we're going to get a lot of orbs of power. And then momentum transfer, causing damage with your grenade, reduces your melee cooldown. This just increases the speed in which we get our melee back. You could also instead run an impact induction because we're going to be getting a lot of melee kills. You'd get your grenade back faster as well. Moving on to our chest piece, again, we have a melee font on. And then concussive dampener, and then this next grouping, you can run whatever you need to reduce incoming damage from the type of activity you're running. You can run a melee font because we're going to be around enemies, we might get punched a lot, and then just run whatever you want on there. Moving on to our legs, again, we have a melee font, and then we also have this, our armor is a plus melee minus something else, and so we're running plus melee minus health because our health stat really doesn't matter anymore unless you're in PvP or something like that. And then we're running 2 invigoration mods because every time we pick up an orb of power, it reduces the cooldown of our melee. And then a solar weapon surge, since I am going to be primarily using a solar weapon in my secondary slot. And last but not least, our armor that we are focusing here, the Stoicism, the exotic class item. Again, Spirit of Severance, Spirit of Contact are the 2 roles you want on this. We have a melee mod on there. We have an outreach mod on there to reduce the melee cooldown every time we use our class ability. We have a Reaper mod, just so that we can get more orbs of power after using your class ability. Your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. And then I'm trying this out. It's the 1-2 punch finisher. Basically, every time you do a finisher, it consumes one of your armor charges and grants you a full melee ability. It restores your melee abilities. I don't use finishers a lot, and so this is something I'm going to have to consciously remind myself to do. If you don't want to have to do that, just run another outreach mod or something like that, or powerful attraction to help pull the orbs to you. Something like that, just to make sure that you're utilizing all of the things. I want to give this one a try just because I feel like it'll help us get our melees back further. Moving right along to our weapons don't matter. You can use whatever your comfort weapon is. It does not have to be exotic. It does not have to be something good. I'm not running an exotic weapon. You could run Sunshot here. You could run the new exotic pulse rifle, the strand pulse rifle. You could run Thunderlords here if you wanted. It really doesn't matter. The exotic weapon is not going to be the key part of this. The only thing you want to make sure you're doing is if you're at the point where you've got champions in your missions, you want to make sure you have whatever can stun those champions. But just for sake of going over it, I'm running the Lionfish. I've got Recon, Reservoir Burst on it. I'm running the Drang. And I could switch this to any one of these guns. I might actually switch it to the Might Mini tool if I don't have Unstops in there and instead have Overload. And then I'm running a Submersion bow. I've really enjoyed this combat heavy bow. If you don't have it yet, I suggest doing a mission to try and get it. Actually, that might have been during Combat Arms, so you might not be able to, or Call to Arms, so you might not be able to get this bow anymore. But if you can get a combat bow, I believe there's one in the new raid. I recommend it. These bows are fantastic. Now we're going to try something a little different here. I haven't really done this before, but one thing I've been seeing people do is show off the builds first in the shooting range so that you can kind of see the effects a little better than when you're in the thick of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and set up a Cabal wave. And so we've got the Cabal wave here, and I'm going to show you here now as we sprint forward and slide. You can see that electric two. So I cleared out all those. I only hit these two, but we cleared out all of these just because of the electricity that comes out for it. Now we hit it here and we go down and slam, and look how many more we've killed. We only hit this line. So you can see just how insane the Spirit of Contact is, and then tied with the Spirit of Severance, those final blows then create the explosions. And you can just clear out entire waves. Look how many we cleared out. I only hit these 3 here. We got ourselves a Tangle from it. It just creates this insane amount of damage for dealing with waves and large groups of enemies. Now, it is not a boss DPS build. It's not meant to take out in like high health enemies. It can with the ignition. However, this is going to be one that you're running more to do high wave clear and high DPS in that matter. And then when you're dealing with the bosses, you'll rely on your weapon or your super, and then your prismatic. And now to showcase this build, we are going to run Caldera. We've got Barrier and Overload on there, so I've got my bow and my it's Overload, so actually I need to switch this out. We're going to switch this to the Might Mini tool, because then we'll be able to stun it using the SMG, Overload SMG. Also, having Chill Clip or something on this would allow you to stun it as well. I'm not going to worry about that. I like having Reservoir Burst on there, so we're just going to throw on an SMG. So, to make this harder on ourselves, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw on a Rage and Shroud. We're going to throw on the highest solar threat. We're going to throw on some more. Here, what do we want to do? We can do Counterfeit. We can do Subtle Foes. Just make it as hard as possible. And then to take it even a step further than that, we'll throw on Pressure Cooker so we're on the clock. All right, let's jump right into it. Now jumping in here, we are gonna check and see. All right, we've got weapon takedowns. It's not great, but it's better than something like precision takedowns. One thing you can do, if you don't like the challenge you have to do, just restart it. It's better than suffering through it. Like especially this. This is a ability build, and so I'm not really going to get to use the abilities very much while I'm trying to get weapon final blows. And so that's one thing to note. If you don't like it, just reset. Doesn't take long to reset. However, we're not going to reset because this is better than nothing. And I get to show off the Mida Mini tool a little bit, which is one of my favorite SMGs in the game. It's a very good SMG. It's a lot of fun to use. However, we will show on this grouping here. Boom! Look at that, we took out those down there. Ah! I didn't even know they were there. Hidden around the maps when you're doing these solo runs is ammo crates, so keep an eye out for them. If you're running special and heavy ammo, you can get both of those kind of crates around. Always good to pick up if you can. Take that out that way. We're gonna go ahead and use these guys to get our weapon kills. Having heal clip on a weapon is always a good call. Get that finisher. And we didn't quite get all the kills we needed, but we got a lot of them. Oh, that's already blown up. So we will need to get some more weapon kills in this next zone before we move on to face the boss, and that's okay. But you can see how good this build is at taking out waves of enemies. And even the overload champs, we basically two-shot them. Now, obviously, the boss in this will be a flying enemy. I'm actually kind of interested to see how it relates here. Oh, even if you don't use the sliding melee, which, I mean, there's no reason not to, for being honest here, but still, if for whatever reason you don't use it. Alright, we have gotten all the melee, or all the weapon kills we need, so we're just gonna zoom on through here, straight to the boss, take out these guys, because why not? Zoom on past these ones. We're flying. We're going to start out here. We're going to pop our ult right as the boss comes out here. And we're just going to smack him as much as we can. Good. We've got our first set of health down. We've got these guys to deal with. We're going to go ahead and lightning explode them. All right. Let's get these destroyed. I thought I was going to fall off the edge there. I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. Running through here. Got that destroyed. One shot left there. That's okay. One of the things I love about this gun is I can just go and get my shit back. Out of ammo? Oh, just run up to the last enemy you shot. Pick it up off of him. Look at how easy it is to just wipe out all of the groups. Oh. Sorry, I love this build. I've been trying so hard to get this drop so that I can show off this build. It's taken me like... I'm not a pure farming, but on and off farming for like a month. I finally just stopped attempting to get it in the Pale Heart and just farmed it from Zur over the weekend. We're gonna go ahead and pop our Prismatic here just so we get all our melees. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. See, it still does an insane amount of damage to bosses. So yeah, I mean, you saw that we were never in danger of dying. We never had an issue with any of that. Absolutely 100% worth picking this exotic class item up, getting this drop on it, and running this build, especially with Renegades coming up. We're going to be doing a lot of activities that have a lot of enemies coming at us. Absolutely a build you need to be running in Renegades when it comes out. I hope you guys enjoyed this build showcase. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscription so you never miss another one, and comment down below a build you want me to showcase. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.